The wicked supporting character has run away. I am a villain in a romance novel. According to the story's progression, I, Evelyn Qin, the adopted daughter of the Qin family, driven by jealousy and greed, repeatedly tried to make life difficult for the female lead. All because I harbored a one-sided crush on Uncle Ethan and was consumed by envy when I saw the female lead, even after breaking off her engagement with my cousin, still capture his affection. Ultimately, I was destined for a tragic death, a fate of my own making. But after realizing I was merely a fictional character, I resolved to stay away from Ethan Qin at all costs to save my own life. Yet, Uncle Ethan's behavior started to become erratic. Once, when I brought my boyfriend home, he blocked me right outside my room, his eyes filled with suppressed anger and darkness. "Evelyn Qin, are you playing games with me?" I discovered I was living in a novel's world when I was 16, after falling into the water and waking up. Countless plot points, like lines of text, appeared in my mind. It was in that moment that I realized how utterly ridiculous my life was. The youngest uncle whom I adored with all my heart, Ethan Qin, was actually the male lead of the story, and the female lead was none other than the fiancée betrayed by my cousin, Claire Jiang. According to the plot, I, Evelyn Qin, the adopted daughter of the Qin family, out of jealousy for Claire Jiang being loved by Uncle Ethan after breaking off her engagement with my cousin, repeatedly tried to harm her. Eventually, Uncle Ethan would kick me out of the house, and I would die a tragic death. To avoid that ending, at 16, right after being discharged from the hospital, I immediately told my foster mother I wanted to study abroad. And so, 5 years passed. Initially, I planned to stay overseas for a few more years, waiting for the story's events to conclude before returning. But my foster mother unexpectedly called me back, insisting that now that I had graduated, I must come home. I had a bad feeling. She definitely wanted me back for a business marriage. As soon as we got out of the car and entered the hotel, Sean Song, the boyfriend I dragged along, grumbled while pulling his suitcase. "I'm such a catch. What if your mother actually makes you marry me?" I glanced at his incessant theatrics, my mouth twitching, but I remained silent, just taking the room card and heading into the elevator. "You're back in the country. Why aren't you going straight home? Why are you staying in a hotel with me? Is there something wrong with your family?" The elevator stopped on our floor, and I replied indifferently, "You could say that. It's fine not to be close. Take me, for example. My father makes my mother call me every day to ask if I've caused any trouble. It's truly annoying." Ahead, 2 men in suits were approaching, and I subtly moved out of their way. Unexpectedly, Sean kept talking, accidentally bumping into me. I lost my balance and stumbled into the man leading the way. Instinctively, he reached out to steady me. The dim yellow light glinted on his hair. His demeanor was like an untouchable deity. I froze for a moment. Sean quickly pulled me back. "Are you okay?" I pinched him hard, then turned to apologize to the man. "I'm so sorry." He paused, his brow furrowed as he looked at me. His eyes behind gold-rimmed glasses were both profound and held an indescribable displeasure. "He seems familiar." While I was still wondering where I'd met him, he withdrew his gaze and quietly left. Sean mumbled, "People here really aren't as warm as foreigners." "Keep your voice down," I hissed. "Do you think they can't hear you? Fine, no more talking. But tell me, do you really have problems with your family?" I pulled my suitcase straight ahead. "It's nothing major. There's just one person in that house I don't want to see." "Who?" "Just an old man. 5 years have passed. He must be almost 30 by now, right?" Calling him old is me being polite. Arriving at the room door, I swiped the card to unlock it. Glancing down the hallway, I saw the 2 men from earlier hadn't left. The man who had caught me was looking back at me, his eyes darkening for a moment before turning as cold as ice. Before I could process much, Sean pushed me into the room. But before I could even rest for 10 minutes, I received a call from my foster mother. "I heard you're back in the country. Why aren't you home?" Before I could ask how she knew, she ordered, "Come home immediately." Unable to refuse, Sean and I packed our bags and left the hotel that very night. Having not been back for many years, the Qin family home had changed significantly. As Sean and I got out of the car, my foster mother came out to greet us. Upon seeing Sean, she paused slightly as if to speak, then stopped herself. I spoke first. "Mom, this is my boyfriend, Sean Song." My mother forced a smile. "Good. It's almost dinner time. You two go upstairs and put your things away first, then come down for dinner. Everyone will be here tonight." Hearing that, my heart skipped a beat. I quickly asked, "Uncle Ethan is coming too?" He was always so busy, rarely seen at home. Surely he wouldn't be here today. only then did I feel truly at ease. Since my awakening, my feelings for Ethan Qin had completely vanished, replaced by sheer dread. The mere thought of being cast out by him, my hands crippled, sent shivers down my spine. I led Sean to the Qin family's dining table. All eyes turned to us with scrutinizing gazes. Claire Jiang, the female lead, was also present. She sat obediently next to my cousin, Brian Qin. It seemed at this stage of the story, there were no conflicts between them yet. "Oh, Evelyn Qin, how impressive. You just got back and already brought a boyfriend home?" The speaker was Brian Qin, my cousin, an irresponsible, idle man. Brian Qin was the supporting male character in the novel about Uncle Ethan. The Qin family had 3 sons. I was the adopted daughter of the second son, while he was the only son of the eldest uncle. Ethan Qin, the youngest uncle, was the youngest son of old Mr. Qin and also the most powerful figure in the family. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. The eldest uncle just said, "Ethan, how did you manage to come home today?" I instantly panicked, my hands trembling, dropping my chopsticks onto the table. Fortunately, no one noticed, as everyone stood up to greet Ethan Qin. Sean looked at me puzzled, then turned his head. I don't know what he saw, but he suddenly gripped my wrist tightly. "What the hell, what's wrong with you?" While I was still dazed, a tall figure cast a shadow beside me. I looked up and nearly forgot to breathe. The man who had caught me at the hotel this afternoon was indeed Ethan Qin. As I stared at him, bewildered, my mind replayed our afternoon encounter, wondering if I had said anything wrong. Ethan Qin merely gave me a cold glance, then walked to the only empty seat beside Claire Jiang and sat down. Claire seemed a little tense, just sitting next to each other. Their aura was already extraordinary. Typical of the main leads, every time they appear together, there are sparks. I scoffed at myself, trying to suppress the faint sadness rising within me. He probably doesn't even remember our fleeting encounter this afternoon. "Ethan, I thought you'd be busy until late tonight," the eldest uncle said, his voice dripping with obvious flattery. The others also showed immense deference, a stark contrast to a normal family atmosphere. Sean whispered in my ear, "Your family's atmosphere is really weird." "Not entirely, it's just that one person is exceptionally peculiar." I thought I spoke very softly, but for some reason, the moment I finished speaking, Ethan Qin's gaze inadvertently flickered towards me. I held my breath, my hands turning cold. "Evelyn Qin, Uncle Ethan is back too. Aren't you going to introduce your boyfriend to him? You used to cling to him, even caused a scene and fell into the pond, ending up in the hospital, all because of Uncle Qin's female guests." Brian Qin suddenly brought up the past, his tone full of insinuation, and my face darkened. Before, influenced by the character's persona, I had become frantic and obsessive, clinging to Ethan Qin. I even sneaked into his room in the middle of the night, deliberately trying to seduce him, only to be bluntly kicked out. That past, I didn't want to recall even a little. I secretly glanced at Ethan Qin, noticing his expression was also very unpleasant. He was surely utterly disgusted by the person I used to be. "Uncle Ethan, this is my boyfriend, Sean Song. We met overseas and have been together for 2 years." I gathered all my courage, emphasizing the words boyfriend, hoping he would understand that I no longer had any intentions toward him. "Please, don't seek revenge, don't kick me out of the Qin family home." But after I finished speaking, Ethan Qin remained completely silent. I had actually anticipated this. It would be strange if he did react. Who knew Brian Qin would continue to add fuel to the fire? "Evelyn Qin, you brought him here. Are you actually planning to marry him?" Everyone immediately turned to look at Sean and me. Even Ethan Qin looked over, his gaze anything but friendly. "Even if you're just an adopted daughter, you still bear the Qin surname. Our Qin family has its standards. You spent so many years overseas and didn't come back, and as soon as you do, you bring home someone of unknown background to introduce." His words grew increasingly harsh, while my foster parents remained silent. No one spoke up to defend me. They regarded this matter as a given. Brian Qin became more and more outrageous. Just then, Ethan Qin, his face utterly cold, slammed his chopsticks down on the table. Before he could say anything, Sean grabbed my hand and said, "Everyone, perhaps I haven't introduced myself clearly. I am Sean Song. My father is the head of the Shen Jian Group." The moment he finished speaking, the atmosphere at the dining table fell silent. Even I widened my eyes in surprise. Sean and I met during my 3rd year overseas. Initially, we fought like cats and dogs, but through our arguments, we became friends. This time, I asked him to pretend to be my boyfriend to come back to the country with me. I had never asked about his family background, always thinking he was just a regular young master. Who knew he was the heir to such a massive conglomerate? That evening, both Claire Jiang and Sean Song stayed at the Qin family home. Sean insisted on pulling me into his room, making everyone outside think we were up to something illicit. Only I knew he was just curious to hear about the Qin family's secret affairs. "Don't stay up too late, kids. Take care of your health." My foster mother smiled brightly, her expression completely different from when she first met Sean. Clearly, she was very pleased with this prospective son-in-law. "Mom, I'm just worried Sean isn't used to the room. I'm just helping him a little." "Don't overthink it." Just then, the door to the opposite room opened, and Brian Qin reappeared. "Oh, Sean sounds quite intimate, doesn't it? And your boyfriend's name sounds exactly like the youngest uncle's, doesn't it? It almost sounds like you're calling the youngest uncle." The moment he finished, I saw Ethan Chin's figure heading upstairs. He had clearly heard it. He remained silent, merely turning coldly in another direction, coincidentally, the direction of Claire Jiang's room. I pulled Sean back to our room, intending to end things, but Brian Qin didn't give up. "Evelyn Qin, are you really that eager to pull a man into your room? It seems I should go find my fiancé too." With that, he followed Ethan Qin towards Claire Jiang's room. I watched Ethan Chin's retreating figure, his tall stature, his cold expression. It seemed as though the slightest provocation would unleash his fury. He must already like Claire Jiang by now. Indeed, Ethan Qin is not someone who takes things lightly. Sean and I had only been back in our room for a few minutes when a maid called Sean out. Ethan Qin wanted to speak with the younger generation of the family, and of course, Brian Qin was among them. I just chuckled softly and returned to my room by myself, no longer interested in anything. Closer to dawn, while I was deep in sleep, I suddenly heard a cat meowing outside the door. The sound was very familiar. It was probably the cat I had before I went abroad. I was surprised, never expecting that cat to still be here. At first, I intended to ignore it, but the cat's meows were incessant, so noisy that I couldn't fall back asleep. I reluctantly got up to find it. The lights on the second floor inexplicably wouldn't turn on. I could only follow the faint light from the wall sconces, moving in the direction of the meowing. It had been a long time since I'd returned to the Qin family home, so I was a little unfamiliar with the layout. As I reached the door of a room, I heard the cat meow. Reflexively, I pushed the door. It was only slightly ajar. Suddenly, in the darkness, a chilling, terrifying aura abruptly enveloped me. Before I could react, someone seized my wrist tightly, pulling me forcefully into the room. My entire body was enveloped by a breath that was both scalding hot and icy cold, yet incredibly familiar. It was Ethan Qin. My heart suddenly trembled. Before I could struggle, he quietly asked, "Was that intentional?" I was stunned. "Intentional about what? Do you really like him now?" His voice held suppressed anger. Although I couldn't see his expression in the dark, just hearing him was enough to send shivers down my spine. I had never seen Ethan Qin lose his composure like this. I was startled, and a sudden suspicion arose in my mind. He thinks I'm Claire Jiang. As if to confirm my suspicion, a maid's voice echoed from outside. "Miss Jiang, why are you here?" I was a little thirsty, so I came out to find some water, but the hallway lights aren't working. Claire Jiang's voice was soft and delicate, typical of a harmless White Lotus. "I'm so sorry, Miss Jiang. The lights are broken. We're calling someone to fix them. Let me escort you back to your room. Someone will bring you water shortly." Their footsteps faded, while my hand was gripped tighter, pulling me back to reality. I began to feel confused. He must have mistaken me for someone else, right? In the dead of such a quiet night, it couldn't possibly be a coincidence that both of them were inadvertently present here. Clearly, they had planned to meet beforehand, only to be interrupted by me and the maid. He was about to speak, but I quickly thought, I absolutely cannot let him recognize me, and there must be no misunderstanding that I'm interfering with their business. So, without a word, I immediately raised my leg and kicked him straight in the groin. Taking advantage of his dodge, I pushed him with all my might and ran. There were so many young girls in the Qin household, and I had never uttered a sound. How could he possibly know who I was? Reassuring myself, I quickly returned to my room, locked the door immediately, pulled the blankets tightly over me, and slept until Sean woke me early in the morning. Downstairs, he complained incessantly about losing sleep all night due to the cat's desperate meows. I nodded perfunctorily. As I looked up, I saw Ethan Qin sitting downstairs, playing with that cat. The moment I saw the cat, I remembered what happened last night. A sense of unease filled me, and I unconsciously missed a step on the stairs. Sean reacted quickly, pulling me into his arms. "Be careful, what good is your face if you fall like that?" After saying that, he turned to greet, "Good morning, Uncle." Ethan Qin wore thin-rimmed glasses. His gaze, as he glanced over, carried an indescribable coldness that made me even more anxious. I quickly pushed Sean away and stood up straight. "Good morning, Uncle." He didn't reply, just looked at me with a profound, unreadable gaze. I started to sweat. What does he mean by looking at me like that? Has he already guessed? "Fiancé, did you sleep well last night?" While I was still in a panic, I heard Claire Jiang and Brian Chin's voices echoing from the staircase. So that look wasn't for me, but for Claire Jiang behind my back. Claire Jiang ignored Brian Chin, but when she saw me, her eyes held a strange glint. She glanced briefly at Ethan Chin, then quickly averted her gaze. I was slightly suspicious of that look. Looking at me then at him, before I could ponder it further, Brian Chin swept past Sean and me, heading straight for Ethan Chin. "Uncle, are you heading to work? Luckily, I have some errands. Could Claire go with you in your car?" Ethan Chin maintained a calm expression, giving a faint, as if accepting. I couldn't help but inwardly snicker, cursing him silently, so fake. Inside, he's dying of happiness, yet he deliberately acts reluctant. I shot him a look of disdain, only to be caught by Ethan Chin. He sternly asked me, "Do you have any plans today?" I was a little stunned, unsure if he was asking me or Claire Jiang, so I remained silent. Claire Jiang replied, "I'm going to the company." Ethan Chin nodded slightly, acknowledging her. I breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, he wasn't asking me. I was almost embarrassed. I was about to sneak away with Sean when he quickly stepped forward, blocking my path. "What about you, Evelyn?" He paused for a beat, then called my full name with solemnity. "Evelyn Qin." I flinched. "What? Why is he calling my name so seriously? Did I do something wrong?" Sean quickly said, "Uncle, Evelyn and I just got back from overseas. We wanted to explore a bit, see what's changed in the country." Ethan Chin frowned, looking at me seriously. "You're back in the country, so don't just think about having fun. You should come to the company and work." "Work? No, I just want to live a life of leisure as a professional couch potato." "Uncle, she just got back, let her take it easy first." Ethan Chin glanced at Sean. "Your father called me this morning, did you know?" Hearing his father mentioned, Sean immediately tensed up. Ethan Chin continued, "Your father said you need to be home before 10 a.m. or you'll face the consequences." Sean, known for being terrified of his father, instantly paled, looking at me apologetically. I guess I have to go back first. I'll come find you in a few days." With that, he hastily left. Now it was just me facing Ethan Chin, or rather, I was completely overwhelmed by his cold demeanor. I lifted my head, putting on an innocent face. "Uncle, are you serious? You're really making me go to work?" He frowned. "Why not? But I don't know the way to the company, and there aren't any cars or drivers left in the house to take me. You'll come with me." He cut me off and turned to walk away. I thought I'd misheard, standing there in a daze for a long time, not daring to move, until Claire Jiang gently called me and Brian Chin's voice was full of sarcasm. Ethan Chin's car was very spacious. When I got in, he and Claire Jiang were already sitting opposite each other. Without delay, I eyed the empty seat next to Ethan Chin, then sat down next to Claire Jiang. Honestly, I didn't want to interfere with the romantic relationship of the two main characters. I was just forced to share a ride. On the way, Ethan Chin still considerately explained work matters to Claire Jiang. As for me, I remained absolutely silent, pretending to admire the scenery outside, obediently blending into the background. In truth, I understood nothing of what they were discussing. Suddenly, the car braked sharply. Claire Jiang and I were sitting facing opposite the direction of travel. By inertia, we both lurched forward. In front of me was an empty seat, but in front of Claire Jiang was Ethan Chin. I immediately closed my eyes, not wanting to witness what shouldn't be seen. In my mind, I had already pictured the female lead falling into the male lead's arms and the two developing feelings after this collision. But when I felt myself seemingly falling into a warm embrace, I started to feel strange. Startled back to reality, I opened my eyes and saw Ethan Chin's sharp jawline right in front of me. Startled, I stared at him with wide eyes. Why is he here? It must be due to the inertia. That must be it. Feeling a firm arm around my waist, I immediately pushed him away, sitting back up in my original position. Fearing he would misunderstand that I did it on purpose, I hastily explained, "Excuse me, I didn't mean to." He frowned, looking displeased. I became even more flustered. I had caused similar incidents with him many times before. He probably didn't trust me anymore. "What happened?" he asked the driver coldly. The driver trembled as he replied, "Someone suddenly ran a red light, sir." I looked over and saw Claire Jiang slumped beside me, her face drained of color. She must have hit something. "Are you okay?" I asked her worriedly. She shook her head. "I'm fine." Despite saying so, her eyes were full of complexity, glancing at me, then at Evelyn Qin, as if she had uncovered some earth-shattering secret. Claire Jiang also worked at the Qin Group. As Brian Qin's fiancée, her stepping out of Evelyn Qin's car probably didn't surprise anyone in the company. It clearly wasn't the first time. However, the moment he and I stepped out, Evelyn Qin unexpectedly slowed his pace, walking shoulder to shoulder with me, immediately causing a stir in the office. Everyone started whispering. Claire Jiang had returned to her workstation long ago, while I stood frozen, awaiting orders from Evelyn Qin. I thought he would quickly hand me over to HR. Instead, he leaned down, looked at me, and asked, "What do you want to do at the company?" Of course, nothing but eat and sit around. The moment I spoke, I knew I had blurted it out, startled and horrified, my eyes wide as I looked at him. "I mean, I want to start from the lowest positions, slowly learning the ropes." He stared at me for so long that I started to panic. Finally, he gave a faint, crooked smile. I became even more confused. "What's so funny? Is he angry? You just graduated and don't understand anything about company operations or working, do you? Can you answer the phone?" "Yes, sir." "Who can't? Then that's fine." I was bewildered but dared not ask. It wasn't until he led me into the CEO's office and told his assistant to set me up right outside the door to specifically answer calls that I understood. Seriously, even if I said I had no experience and needed to start small, he didn't need to be so enthusiastic. Did he really think I was a switchboard operator? I had barely sat down when the phone rang. The job was indeed simple enough for an elementary school student, mostly answering calls to take messages or transfer them to Evelyn Qin's assistant. Bored, I scrolled through my phone, gossiping with Sean. He complained that he was also forced to work these days, suffering unbearably. We just commiserated with each other, truly two peas in a pod. Engrossed in our conversation, I didn't know when the door behind me had opened. I remained oblivious until I felt a gaze as sharp as a dagger piercing the back of my head. I looked up. Evelyn Qin was frowning, his face expressionless, staring intently at my phone screen. A new message from Sean had just arrived, even accompanied by a kissy face sticker. Startled, I quickly put my phone away and stood up abruptly. "Uncle Ethan? At the company, don't call me Uncle Ethan." His voice was cold. "And don't let others know about our relationship." "Got it, Mr. Qin." He probably thinks I'll use my status as a Qin family heiress to cause trouble at the company. HMPH, who would bother? The phone rang again. On the other end was a certain CEO Lee, wanting to discuss cooperation progress with Evelyn Qin. Not understanding anything, I told the person to wait a moment. After some hesitation, I stood up and gently knocked on Evelyn Qin's office door. "Come in." I peeked in from the doorway. "Mr. Qin, you have a call." "Transfer it." "I already did, sir." He paused, looking up at me. I pointed to the desk phone I was holding. He glanced at the phone, then back at me, raising an eyebrow slightly, but eventually got up and went to answer it. I was sitting, and he leaned against the table, propping himself up with his hand to talk. The distance between us was incredibly close. I was about to remind him, but seeing how serious he was, I decided against it. I hunched my shoulders, quietly waiting for him to finish. 10 minutes dragged on like an eternity. Finally, he hung up and returned to his office. I breathed a sigh of relief, but before I could celebrate, the phone rang again. It was another call for Evelyn Qin, so I had no choice but to stand up and call him. This time, when he came out to answer, I quickly stood up to offer him my seat, inviting him to sit. To my surprise, he pressed me back down, giving me a cold glance. "Stay put." I forced a laugh. "Yes, sir." Another call for my CEO. I was completely devoid of emotion. I buried my face in my arms on the desk, tiredly waiting for him to finish talking. Just then, the assistants and secretaries who had stepped out returned. They saw their CEO standing by my desk, taking a call, and then saw me sitting right there, nodding off. Their expressions were, to say the least, extremely interesting. I startled awake, quickly sitting up straight and feigning diligence. After he finished, he casually returned to his office, while I could feel the stealthy glances of my new colleagues, as if I were some strange creature. Near the end of the morning, I went to the restroom and overheard a lively gossip session. I've never seen the CEO personally come out to answer calls. Isn't it bothersome? I heard she even rode in the CEO's car this morning and they were standing so close earlier. Could it be? Oh my God, they suspect Mr. Qin and I have a dubious relationship. As if, I wouldn't dare. I don't have the fortune to be involved in a scandal with the male lead. Overcome with panic, I rushed out to explain. My relationship with the CEO is not what everyone thinks. The truth was, I was about to reveal my identity as an adopted niece when I suddenly remembered he had forbidden me from using the Qin family name at the company. Do you and the CEO have something going on? They looked at me with curious expressions, as if anticipating a scandalous story. Cornered, I had to change my tone. Actually, it's just a normal colleague relationship. Their "oh" clearly implied they were extrapolating further, concocting more baseless assumptions. Growing anxious, I continued to clarify. Everyone, please don't misunderstand. The CEO is also getting on in years. I'm not into older men. The moment I finished speaking, everyone opposite me stared wide-eyed, their faces as pale as if they'd seen a ghost. I was bewildered, not understanding what was happening, and was about to add, besides, I already have a boyfriend who is young and handsome, when a deep voice resonated from behind me, making me stiffen. I turned around. It was Evelyn Qin. He stood there with an icy expression, while the others scattered like rabbits fleeing a wolf. I grimaced, no longer caring about the phone conversation, only worried if he was angry. Would he seek revenge on me? I looked at him, my face clearly pale with fear. He looked at me for a moment, his eyes darkening slightly before he softly said, "Let's go, let's eat." I hesitated. "Uncle, are you eating with me?" He didn't answer, stepping closer, his gaze seeming to pierce through my very soul. "Are you that afraid of me? Why?" This question choked me. Look, who wouldn't be afraid of that icy, cold face? More importantly, 6 years ago, I had dreamed of my own demise, being cast out of the Qin family by this very man. Back then, he hated me intensely. After I left the Qin family, the entire social circle scorned me, ready to suppress me, and I was wretched beyond imagination. I lowered my head, my voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz. "Uncle is older and my superior. I'm just showing respect, sir." He remained silent. The atmosphere became suffocating, making me feel double the pressure. Only when his phone rang was the silence broken. Even without speakerphone, I recognized that voice Stella Sue's. I froze, amazed that after 6 years, I still remembered her voice in such detail. Perhaps if it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have fallen into the swimming pool that year. And that fall was the turning point that helped me realize I was in a novel, beginning my journey to save myself. I don't know what Evelyn Qin was thinking, but he agreed for me to join him, and the person waiting was Stella Sue. The moment she saw me, her perfect mask instantly cracked. Nevertheless, she forced a smile. "I heard Evelyn's back in the country, long time no see." "Go on, keep acting, I'll watch." 6 years ago, she had outright called me an adopted child unworthy of Evelyn Qin's affection, and spared no insult in humiliating me. I returned her greeting with a sweet smile. "Aunt Stella, it's been a long time." Hearing "Aunt," her expression immediately stiffened. I wasn't about to forgive and continued, "After all these years, you've really maintained your beauty well. The crow's feet have also significantly reduced." Her smile twisted like cracked porcelain. I was secretly delighted to have gained the upper hand. However, when I turned, Evelyn Qin's eyes held a very strange expression. Was he unhappy? Perhaps he was annoyed that I was rude to Stella Sue. I quickly lowered my eyes, obediently eating my meal. Unexpectedly, when I looked up, I saw Brian Qin sitting in a corner with a woman. The sight before me choked me. He was brazenly, in broad daylight, right in the restaurant, touching the woman's chest. I coughed violently, my face flushed. Evelyn Qin, sitting beside me, gently patted my back, his voice soft. "Eat slowly." In that moment, not only was Stella Sue stunned, but even I felt as though Evelyn Qin had been possessed by someone. Since when did he know how to gently pat someone's back like that? Could it be that, because I hadn't been entangled with him in recent years, he had gradually accepted me as his niece? That must be it. I was delighted that Evelyn Qin was treating me better than before, and I was just pondering whether I should butter up the youngest uncle to live a comfortable life, when Brian Qin's gaze suddenly shot directly towards our table. He had seen me. His face instantly changed, revealing a clear intention to silence me. Obscured by an object, he didn't realize Evelyn Qin was sitting right beside me, only seeing the exact moment I caught him flirting with someone else. If he knew I witnessed this, I would certainly be in big trouble. In a moment of sheer panic, having no other choice, I quickly grabbed Ethan Qin's hand and pulled him. Might as well take a risk. Uncle, I think I just saw cousin Brian and my future sister-in-law. Should we go say hello? I pointed towards Brian Qin. Hearing this, Ethan Qin immediately glanced in that direction, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. Brian Qin also saw him, and his face instantly drained of color. He hastily pushed the girl away as if she were a plague. I smiled inwardly. This time, Brian Qin was definitely in huge trouble. I raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. Oh, I guess I was mistaken. It's not Sister Claire Jiang. Ethan Qin's gaze suddenly settled on me, profound, as if he wanted to read my very soul. I was slightly startled, quickly retracting my triumphant expression, but he had already stood up and walked straight towards Brian Qin's table. I don't know what they said, but Brian Qin's face only grew more unpleasant. The girl with him had already hurried away, leaving him alone to face the consequences. Honestly, it was so satisfying. I sat there, barely concealing my delight at someone else's misfortune. Just then, Stella Sue, the woman who always played the villain, suddenly spoke up. It seems I've underestimated you. You spent years overseas, not focusing on your studies, but just learning how to seduce men, huh? Long time no see, your tongue is truly sharp and unpleasant. But I was already too familiar with her fake facade. I chuckled faintly, showing no respect. No wonder, Aunt. After all these years, you still haven't managed to win over my youngest uncle, have you? Or perhaps you should just give up. He never had any feelings for you anyway. Stella Sue turned pale with rage, jumping to her feet. Don't get too smug. If he doesn't like me, he'll certainly never like you. I scoffed. Aunt, do you think everyone's like you? Obsessing over him like he's a treasure for years? I'm different. I stopped liking him a long time ago. Whether he likes me or not, what does that have to do with me? I bet you do. Aunt, I emphasized the word aunt. Aunt, all these years you've seen me as your love rival, but have you ever considered that your real opponent isn't me? She frowned. What do you mean? Clearly, she was too used to my tone to really care. I feigned surprise. You haven't heard, Uncle Ethan already has someone. Impossible. Stella Sue was stunned. All these years, there hasn't been a single woman around him. Don't even try to fool me. I shrugged. Are you so sure, Aunt? What if you've inadvertently overlooked a few people you considered impossible? For instance, certain delicate relationships. Are you talking about yourself? I froze. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly. Besides me, for example, who? Ethan Qin's cold voice unexpectedly cut in, startling both Stella Sue and me. I turned to see he had been standing behind us the whole time, his face dark as if a storm was brewing, his gaze sharp as a blade. I quickly bowed my head. Uncle Ethan, I was just chatting with Aunt Stella, it's nothing. Stella Sue also hastily nodded in agreement. It was the first time we had ever collaborated so seamlessly. On the way back, he was completely silent, his entire body emanating a chilling aura. I was so nervous I could count every beat of my heart, biting my nails and wondering when my death anniversary would be. Just then, my phone rang. It was Sean calling. I was overjoyed, like a drowning person clutching a lifeline, and quickly answered. Sean, honestly, I felt incredibly grateful just to utter those 2 syllables. But at that very moment, the car suddenly stopped. I nearly slammed my face into the window, turning to look at him with a puzzled expression. Red light, he said, his voice a little annoyed. I knew better and lowered my voice. It's nothing, go ahead and speak. On the other end, Sean practically yelled into the phone. My parents want to meet you, it's urgent. When? Tomorrow night they're holding a party to celebrate my return to the country. I'll pick you up. So soon, but I haven't prepared anything. No need to worry. I've already had a dress tailor-made to your measurements. I'll take care of everything else. After hanging up, the atmosphere in the car became silent again. I had almost forgotten about what happened at the restaurant earlier when Ethan Qin suddenly spoke up. Don't you have anything you want to explain to me? I flinched, looking at him, trembling. Uncle Ethan, what are you talking about? What do you think? He stared at me, his gaze as if wanting to pierce through me. I have someone in my heart and it's a forbidden relationship. Is it me? I immediately bowed my head in apology. I was wrong, Uncle Ethan. Wrong about what? You were right. He sneered, a mocking smile playing on his lips. Yes, I have someone I care about, and this relationship is indeed far from normal. Stop talking, I know I was wrong. I just wanted to cover my ears. But that person, so thoughtless and heartless, teases someone, then runs away, washes their hands of any responsibility. I really regret it now. Perhaps seeing my overly genuine expression of resignation, he finally stopped. His face was icy cold, and he drove in silence. Nearing the company, I suddenly realized, why is he driving himself today? I was sitting in the back seat, no different from taking a taxi. Just as I was about to get out, I found the door was locked. I turned to look at him, signaling him to open the door. He turned his face, saying sternly, "Evelyn Qin, I'm only 28, not yet 30, definitely not 40 or 50. Huh, I was dumbfounded, remembering that I had once called him old uncle, and my expression immediately changed. I was just joking, uncle, you're so young. I thought a compliment like that would resolve things, but to my surprise, his expression grew even darker. Besides that, do you have any other jokes you want to tell? Go ahead and say it all. That's all. So I'm a weirdo in your eyes. Not at all. You hate me, don't want to see me? The person who once climbed into my bed, broke down my bathroom door, hugged me, and said they wanted to be with me, wasn't that you? I was choked for words, wanting to cry. Youngest uncle, that was just youthful folly. Do you regret it now? Incredibly regretful. As I offered my most sincere repentance, his expression grew even more ominous. Just as I was wondering how to escape this predicament, I suddenly saw Claire Jiang running out of the company, her eyes glistening with tears. My eyes lit up. Oh, it looks like Sister Claire Jiang? As expected, Evelyn Qin was distracted. I seized the opportunity to flatter him. She's so pitiful. Her childhood sweetheart fiancé betrayed her right before the wedding. That wedding probably won't happen now. I glanced at him. He still had no expression. I continued to feign innocence. She's so good, she deserves someone better. Like youngest uncle, for example. You both are beautiful and capable. I let out a small cry as my face was squeezed. It was Evelyn Qin. What nonsense fills your head all day, Evelyn? His eyes were icy. Evelyn Qin, you can easily change your affections, but I cannot. You don't need me anymore, that's fine, but don't try to gift me to others. I am not that easygoing. I was stunned. In that moment, I suddenly realized youngest uncle really seems to like me. Last night, Evelyn Qin's veiled words gave me a nightmare. In the dream, I rushed forward, pushing him onto the bed, just like in high school. But this time, Evelyn Qin didn't resist at all. Please, someone save me. Why am I having such a crazy dream? The real Evelyn Qin would certainly never agree. He would definitely look at me with disdain, frown, and say, "You're a young girl, not focusing on your studies." Or, "You're still a child, focus on your academics." If I still didn't listen and overstepped, he would coldly warn, "If you dare to barge in again, you'll regret it." I woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. I looked at the clock. It was only 2 a.m. Thirsty, I tiptoed downstairs to get some water. To my surprise, at this late hour, Evelyn Qin was also there. He wore a bathrobe, his entire being exuding a cold, ascetic aura. His left hand held a glass of wine, his right rested on the counter, his long legs casually relaxed as he leaned against the bar. His posture was so elegant it was almost ostentatious. The corner of my mouth trembled. Evelyn Qin noticed me, turned his head, and that gaze immediately reminded me of my recent dream. My heart tightened and I unconsciously blurted out, "Uncle, you're still awake? Don't stay up too late. It's easy to get old if you do." Oh my God, what did I just say? Sure enough, the moment he heard the word, old, his face immediately darkened. He put down his wine glass and walked towards me. I smelled the wine and instinctively recoiled, but he easily held me fast, making it impossible to move. "Evelyn Qin, are you doing this on purpose?" Perhaps it was the alcohol. His voice was hoarse and deep, carrying a strange allure. So close, surrounded only by his scent, my heart pounded like a drum. I silently chided myself for my lack of self-control, trying to ignore the strange feeling within me. I obediently said, "Uncle, I'm clumsy with words, I don't know how to express myself, but I truly respect you." He seemed impatient. Before I could finish, he brushed past me and walked away. I had just sighed in relief when he turned back. "Are you planning to go to the Song family's party?" So he had heard. "Yes, sir." He frowned. "Do you know what attending that party means?" "I know. You want to marry him?" I hesitated a little, but his eyes showed annoyance, making me quickly nod. "Sean and I are deeply in love. It's my good fortune to marry him. I completely agree. I truly hope you understand. I currently have no intention of crossing any lines with you. I am merely your niece, completely innocent." However, after I finished speaking, his expression was not only unhappy but also seemed displeased. "Good fortune," he muttered, lowering his head slightly to conceal the emotions in his eyes. "If it's all just exploitation, then why not?" Saying this, he turned and walked away, carrying a sense of resentment. I was haunted by the nightmare all night, and by morning I was still tired at work. When Evelyn Qin called, I was no longer as naive as the day before. obediently transferring the call. Sean said he would pick me up that afternoon to try on wedding dresses. But that afternoon, Evelyn Qin's assistant took me to meet a client. On the way back, we got stuck in traffic. "Evelyn, are you in a hurry?" the assistant asked me. "Yes, I am. Today I have to meet my boyfriend's parents." "You really have a boyfriend? Does the boss know about this?" This is a perfect opportunity to clarify everything. I immediately nodded. "Of course I do. Uncle has even met him already." "He knows you're going to meet your boyfriend's parents today?" The assistant seemed disbelieving. "And yet he still told me to have you meet a client today." Before he could finish, my phone vibrated. It was Sean. He knew I wasn't at the company and told me to send my current location so he could pick me up. I figured it was almost quitting time anyway and there was no need to go back to the office, so I got off the car midway. Evelyn Qin's assistant hesitated, as if wanting to say something, but ultimately remained silent. When Sean and I arrived at the reception, we were nearly an hour late. His parents looked displeased. "Do you still have any respect for your parents? Everyone has been waiting just to meet you and your girlfriend." His mother glanced at me, saying coldly, "This is the person you said you wanted me to meet?" Sean put his arm around my shoulder. "Yes, Mom, her name is Evelyn Qin from the Qin family." She remained silent, but I was familiar with that look since childhood, a clear disdain. Perhaps because Sean was still there, she didn't overtly show it, merely changing the subject. "You've just returned to the country. There are many friends and relatives who want to meet you. Why don't you go greet them quickly? Don't cling to your girlfriend all day." From beginning to end, she only referred to me as girlfriend, clearly not acknowledging me as a beloved. Luckily, this relationship was fake. Otherwise, I surely would have cried. Sean, being naive, didn't notice anything. He let his mother pull him away, telling me to enjoy myself before he left. I nodded in reply. As soon as he was gone, someone immediately came to provoke me. "Are you Sean Song's girlfriend? I heard you're just an adopted child of the Qin family. Unmatched social standing, yet such grand ambitions. You must have known his identity since you went overseas, right?" I glanced at Sean, who was surrounded by a gaggle of prestigious young ladies, then turned back to them. "Do I know any of you? You're asking questions the moment we meet." "Oh, what's with you, miss? You're all just busybodies." I didn't want to argue and was about to leave, but they grabbed my arm, almost making me fall. Just then, someone caught me. "Are you all right?" It was Claire Jiang. She helped me up, her face worried. "Are you hurt anywhere?" Then she sternly looked at the other girls. "What are you doing, trying to push her?" Claire Jiang also came from a distinguished background. Hearing her, the girls didn't dare refute, weakly explaining, "No, she just tripped herself." "So you're saying I'm slandering you?" Claire Jiang was normally very gentle, but when she was serious, she had an aura exactly like Evelyn Qin's. They really are a perfect match. A thought immediately struck me. I clung to her arm, saying pitifully, "Sister Claire Jiang, I'm fine, you don't have to defend me." She patted my head, gently comforting me. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." After that, she truly taught them a lesson, except for the last sentence. "If you don't want to offend Evelyn Qin, then don't bully Evelyn Qin." That line really wasn't necessary, sister. Evelyn Qin and I aren't that close. He wouldn't stand up for me, and I have no intention of using his name to scare people. "Sister," Claire Jiang pulled me away. It was the first time in my life someone had stood up to protect me like that. Honestly, I was so touched I felt like crying. Yesterday, the image of her crying bothered me. I wanted to ask her about it, but hesitated. She noticed my unusual behavior, tilted her head slightly, and asked kindly, "Is there something you want to say?" I bit my lip, deciding to probe. "Sister Claire Jiang, you're so good, you deserve someone better. In my opinion, Cousin Brian is completely unworthy of you." After hearing that, she lowered her eyes, a fleeting sadness on her face. "I understand this matter myself." I hesitated for a moment, then blurted out, "Don't be angry with me for speaking too much, but I truly think you and youngest uncle would make a beautiful couple." Thump. She stared at me, wide-eyed in astonishment. "Evelyn, what are you thinking? You've misunderstood something. It's true that Brian and I have a commercial marriage with no feelings, but youngest uncle is still your youngest uncle. This sister truly has morals." I admired her even more, but couldn't help but continue. "So what if he's youngest uncle? If you like someone, you should bravely pursue them." "Evelyn." A terrifying voice echoed from behind me, making me stiffen. Claire Jiang glanced behind me, then hastily left. "I have something urgent to do, I'll go first." She left as if fleeing. I wanted to flee too, but my wrist was tightly clasped. Normally, he might have grabbed my collar, but since I was wearing an evening gown, he only held my hand, which was no more pleasant. His voice was deep, enunciating each word. What did you just say? Repeat it. I wanted to cry. Why do I always get caught talking behind his back? Wait, why is he even here? I stammered. Youngest uncle, I was just joking. You like to joke with me that much? Or perhaps I should joke back a little? Before I could understand what he meant, several well-dressed men approached, smiling courteously. Hello, CEO Qin, I didn't expect you to attend the party today. This young lady is my girlfriend. I froze on the spot and the entire group was stunned. CEO Qin's girlfriend? I wonder which family's young lady she is. He laughed coldly, his voice sharp as a knife. My niece and my girlfriend. Not just me, but everyone else broke into a cold sweat, forcing smiles. Mr. Qin, you're quite the joker. No joke, my niece and my girlfriend. Oh my God, what did he just say? The others looked as if they'd been doused with cold water, their astonishment turning to fear. They hastily said, We have some matters to attend to, please excuse us. Goodbye. Having said that, they vanished. My hand was still held tightly. I couldn't escape, so I could only whisper, looking at him, Uncle, isn't that a bit too much of a joke? He immediately retorted with an icy expression. So, you're joking about me and my niece-in-law, that's not too much. I was speechless. My cousin is having an affair, I don't think they can ever be together. But what does that have to do with you? I was bewildered. Honestly, I wanted to ask, don't you like Claire Jiang? But I didn't have the courage, I tried to change the subject. I need to go find Sean. To my surprise, he scoffed. Find him? He's surrounded by a bunch of beauties right now. Can you even get close? Then he looked me up and down, frowned, and said, That dress is hideous. Oh my God, since when did Ethan Qin become so scathing and childish? On the way, being forced back to the banquet hall, I suddenly overheard someone whispering about me and stopped. Is that the girl you brought back? Are you really going to agree to this? It was Sean's mother's voice. That girl isn't worthy. She's like a toad trying to eat swan meat. She's just an adopted child. I heard no one in the Qin family respects her. So why did you let her come here today? Today is a blind date party. What if some rich young ladies misunderstand? Let her know her place. If she sees the huge difference between herself and my son, she'll withdraw on her own. You know how my son is. If I stop him, he'll turn against me. The two women talked as they walked further away. It wasn't until their voices completely faded that I dared to look up, only to meet Ethan Qin's eyes, calm as a frozen lake. Still want to marry him. Actually, I didn't much care if others looked down on me, but standing in front of Ethan Qin, I felt incredibly pathetic and clumsy. I tried to act natural. Of course, as long as Sean loves me, that's enough. Sean? He curled his lip into a smile, which gradually turned cold, his gaze sharp as a dagger, piercing straight into my heart. That look made me recall Brian's sarcastic remark. Hearing you call him Sean is really intimate. Your boyfriend's name and youngest uncle's name sound exactly alike. I wonder if outsiders will think you're calling uncle. After an unpleasant argument, I returned to the banquet hall. When Sean saw me, he frowned and asked, Where have you been? My mom's been looking for you. I chuckled softly in reply, Looking for me for what? Mom said she wanted to introduce me to her friends in the circle. I don't have many friends, they're all your close friends. He pulled me to find his mother. As soon as she saw me, she offered a faint smile. Couldn't find you for the longest time. I suppose this place is too big and you're not used to it. Got lost, did you? Her words, though gentle, clearly held contempt. Immediately after, she began introducing me to Sean's close friends. One was the child of a tycoon, another of a politician. However, just a glance at their eyes told me they were all playboys with lecherous looks. I was furious, but Sean didn't notice at all. He even happily joined in with his mother. Oh, Sean, Miss Wang's daughter is here too. You two used to be very close, remember? Go say hello, dear. Who? Sean asked, bewildered. Wang Yuan, of course, you once said you'd marry her. Saying this, she gave me a meaningful glance. Sean, taking it seriously, excitedly said, Oh, really? Let me see if I still remember her face. His mother grew even more pleased, immediately pulling him over. Before leaving, she turned back to me and said, Come along, dear. There are many young ladies here. You should get acquainted too. I had no choice but to follow. Indeed, a group of beautiful and dazzling young ladies was already waiting. Among them was Wang Yuan. Sean's mother pushed him to sit next to her, while I was relegated to a secluded corner. Immediately after, she began introducing each person enthusiastically, not forgetting to emphasize their illustrious family backgrounds. Everyone here was a genuine heiress, only I was adopted. Her intentions were as clear as day. Yet Sean, the fool, happily chatted with Wang Yuan, completely forgetting my existence. I was so angry I just wanted to get up and leave immediately. I heard you've had a tough time living at the Qin family home these past few years. A big family like theirs, an adopted child like you probably doesn't get to attend parties like this, do you? It's only natural they don't value you. The sweet, yet sarcastic, words of these young ladies made me want to give them a good beating. The Qin family has so many legitimate, direct-line daughters. It's only natural you're not valued. I was about to retort when unexpectedly a hand clasped mine tightly. I looked up to see it was Ethan Qin. Hadn't he left already? Why is he back? He looked directly at me, his voice cold yet carrying an invisible pressure. I'm asking you again, he said. Do you still want to stay here? Everyone at the party knew Ethan Qin's illustrious reputation. The moment he appeared, holding my hand, everyone froze. From astonishment to fear, the atmosphere suddenly became tense. The quickest to react was Sean's mother. She immediately flashed a bright, ingratiating smile. Oh my, CEO Ethan, you've come too? I thought this small party wasn't grand enough to invite you. What an honor for our Song family. Ethan Qin maintained an unperturbed expression, his cold gaze fixed on her. You've misunderstood. I only came to pick up my niece. Hearing this, Sean's mother was stunned, unable to believe it. CEO Ethan treats Evelyn so well, even personally coming to pick up his niece. Ethan Qin replied indifferently, if I didn't come to pick her up, how would I know if anyone here was bullying her? Sean's mother's face changed color, and she hastily defended herself. How could that happen, sir? Evelyn is Sean's girlfriend, we're very fond of her. How could anyone dare to bully her? Sean also chimed in. Uncle, Evelyn is having a great time here. You're worrying too much. I glared angrily at Sean. How could he say that when I was clearly not having fun? But I couldn't argue back because I didn't want to cause any more trouble at this party. Sean's mother seized the opportunity to continue flattering. So, Uncle Ethan, since you're already here, why don't we discuss the marriage arrangements between our two families? I flinched, immediately knowing she had only seen Ethan Qin's concern for me and was trying to capitalize on this relationship. However, Ethan Qin completely ignored her, looking only at me. What do you think? I quickly replied. Uncle, I'm still young, let's leave marriage for later. Let's go home. Ethan Qin smiled with satisfaction. All right. Sean's mother stood there dumbfounded, seemingly not understanding what was happening. She thought she could easily exploit this relationship, but now she was being thwarted by Ethan Qin himself. Sean frantically chased after me, calling out loudly, Evelyn, do you really want to leave? I turned around angrily, gritting my teeth as I replied, should I wait for your mother to continue humiliating me? After getting into Ethan Qin's car, my mind was still in a turmoil, replaying the recent events when I heard him say, letting them badmouth you at the party, yet you dare to say you're truly in love. Leaving me to love him, your taste is truly terrible. I immediately cut him off. Uncle, you're right, I truly was too blind to love someone like that. He seemed a little surprised, perhaps by my fierce reaction. You really think so? Of course, I nodded, flashing a sweet smile and moved closer to him. From now on, I will listen to you, Uncle. Whatever you tell me to do, I won't dare to disobey. Ethan Qin frowned slightly, gently pushing me away, and sat up straight to talk seriously. I quickly nodded in obedient reply. Yes, sir. He looked at me, his expression a little displeased, seemingly surprised by my rapid change in attitude. I secretly thought, from now on, I'll be a good niece and cling tightly to Uncle. That way, I'll surely live better in this family. Since I resolved to change my attitude, I continuously demonstrated obedience towards Ethan Qin, always staying close to him and receiving more of his attention. Our relationship gradually became more intimate, and he seemed very pleased with this change. I still went to work with Ethan Qin every day, had lunch with him, and followed him home in the evenings. At home, if anyone spoke sarcastically to me, he would protect me, not allowing anyone to hurt me. My relationship with Claire Jiang also became much closer. Sometimes I even advised her to break up with Brian, and when I praised Ethan Qin as an ideal man, she completely agreed. However, this seemingly peaceful life was threatened when I received an unexpected proposal from Ethan Qin one evening. Go complete the paperwork to move your household registration out of the Qin family home. My mouth dropped open. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. I quickly asked, Uncle, what did I do wrong? He merely gently patted my head and replied, Nothing, you're a very good girl. Yet, why did such a profound fear well up inside me? I'll take care of you, Sean casually replied after I finished complaining. I glared at him. Just you, you're even more useless than I am. Even though he had apologized to me many times lately, I still brought up what happened at that party to scold him. "Don't underestimate others like that," he retorted. "There are few people in our Song family. I'm the only heir. Even if I'm not smart, I'm rich." I sighed, taking a sip of soda, lamenting how different everyone's fates were. Some people got everything without even trying. Others put in so much effort but still couldn't escape being used and discarded. Sean patted my back gently. "It's okay. Even if you get kicked out of the Qin family, there's still the Song family. You can even come to my house and be a maid." "Sean, get lost." I pushed his hand away. While we were joking around, someone entered the coffee shop. Initially, I didn't pay attention until I felt a cold gaze fixed on me. I turned my head, and when I saw Evelyn Qin's icy face, I panicked. I stood up, trembling. Uncle Ethan." Sean also obediently followed suit. "Uncle Ethan." Evelyn Qin's expression grew even darker. He didn't even look at Sean, only staring intently at me. "Go home." I lowered my head, utterly terrified. I silently followed him out of the shop. Throughout the ride home, he didn't utter a single word. At this moment, no matter how lively I usually was, I didn't dare to open my mouth. I glanced at the driver, then back at him. "Uncle Ethan, are you angry? Don't call me Uncle Ethan anymore." My face turned white. Oh no, am I going to be kicked out of the house sooner than expected? I felt sad and wronged. What did I even do? Suddenly being accused, it's truly unfair. Whatever he said next, I wasn't in the mood to hear. I remained silent, didn't eat dinner when I got home, and immediately collapsed onto my bed. But even my stubbornness only lasted a few hours. In the middle of the night, hunger woke me. Just as I opened my door to find something to eat, I bumped into Evelyn Qin. It was past midnight and he was still drinking. I was startled, not wanting to pay him any mind, but then I thought, what if there's still a chance to salvage the situation? So I approached him. "Uncle, please don't stay up late drinking all the time. It's not good for your health." He had drunk quite a bit, his eyes seemed a little hazy, and he looked at me with a hint of sadness. "You care about me?" I was still sulking inside, genuinely not wanting to care, but he was the head of the house. "Yes," I said, even though I didn't want to, it slipped out unconsciously. Unexpectedly, he abruptly put down his glass and pulled me upstairs. Before I could compose myself, he led me into a room. He pushed me against the door, his eyes filled with suppressed anger and resentment. "Evelyn Qin, are you playing games with me?" I was somewhat stunned. He lifted my chin, forcing me to look him straight in the eyes. "Didn't you say you had no intention of being with him? Why did you go to meet him? Are you talking about Sean, uncle? Don't say his name. Asterisk, he's truly terrifying. Your mother said you don't want to transfer your household registration. I thought we had reached a mutual agreement. Your sudden change, is it because you want to run after someone else? Is it because you still love him? What?" I was a little bewildered. I admit my intelligence isn't extraordinary, but why did his words make no sense to me? "Uncle, perhaps there's a misunderstanding between us. I also hope this is just a misunderstanding, so I'll give you a chance to explain why you met him today. He's my friend, why can't I meet him? You broke up and you're still friends?" He sneered. "You two certainly know how to play games." I fell silent. I should have explained to him about my fake relationship with Sean earlier. Now, things had become much more complicated. "Actually, Sean and I are just two people. You've even kissed, haven't you?" "Huh." He stared intently at my lips, his thumb gently caressing them, his eyes full of danger. My heart felt like it stopped. I quickly turned my face away, avoiding his kiss. "Uncle, are you drunk? My head isn't very clear right now." "Perhaps I've been too lenient with you, to the point where you think you can play with my feelings again and again? Who's playing with your feelings?" I almost shouted, immediately realizing my voice was a little too loud. I lowered my voice. "This time, I truly didn't mean to affect you. All right, this time I'll seduce you myself." As soon as he finished speaking, a warm kiss touched my lips. My head buzzed, everything became incredibly hazy. My ears went deaf, unable to hear any other sounds, only feeling the soft tenderness of his lips. Ever since everything was clarified, Evelyn Qin seemed to have tacitly acknowledged our relationship. After my household registration was moved, he made no secret of us. He frequently held my hand naturally, as if no one was watching, considerately brought me food and drinks, and even freely entered my private room. Shamelessly, he remained completely calm. But conversely, I felt incredibly embarrassed, especially when facing the Qin family members. My foster parents, especially, I just wanted to find a hole to crawl into. I told him to tone down his enthusiasm a bit, but he teased me, saying I was becoming more timid, no longer as brave as before. Aren't you afraid of what others will say? He pulled me close, placing a light kiss on my forehead, not giving it a second thought. It's not like we're committing murder. What's there to be afraid of? Then he leaned down, his eyes burning as he looked at me. If you don't want others to gossip, there's one way. What way? Legalize our relationship. Uncle, I'm only 22, still too young. I pushed him away and sat up straight. He looked at me with an annoyed expression. So you're saying I'm old? I panicked. No, nothing like that. I cupped his face. Look, is there any old man as handsome as you? So youthful and smooth-skinned, clearly well cared for. I think I misspoke again. I mean, you look very young. He covered my mouth. You'd better stay silent. Claire Jiang finally broke off her engagement with Brian Qin. She said she hadn't dared to go against her parents' wishes before, but now she realized men weren't trustworthy and living alone was better. My admiration for her was about to burst. Sister Claire Jiang, you should have done that a long time ago. Brian Qin is truly filthy. Sleeping with one person today, another tomorrow who knows what kind of disease he might be carrying. I swear, at that moment, I just blurted it out. I never expected those words to become true a few months later. When we heard the news, Claire Jiang and I burst out laughing. Sean was practically agape when he learned that Evelyn Qin and I were in love. He kept praising me for being clever and said he used to wonder why my uncle often made things difficult for him, now realizing it wasn't his imagination. He asked when we were getting married. Every time the topic came up, I felt embarrassed. I told Uncle Ethan I was scared of marriage, but he stubbornly insisted I was playing with his feelings. Hearing this, Sean looked me up and down and commented, "You certainly look like you have the love swindler type of face." I didn't know what else to say. After Sean and I finished watching the movie, Evelyn Qin unexpectedly appeared. His face clearly showed his displeasure. All the way home, I tried to coax him, but he kept a cold expression. You said you were going out with Claire Jiang, so why were you with him? I told you Claire Jiang had something urgent, and I just happened to run into him. Do you believe me? What do you think? I fell silent, quickly changing the subject. So how did you know Sean and I were there? Did you have someone follow me? Someone sent me photos. How could I not know? Who was it? He handed me his phone, and I took it. Good heavens. Stella Sue still hadn't given up, resorting to her divisive tactics again. I angrily threw the phone back at him, my tone a little sulky. You're one to talk. You and she are pretty close too, even sending private messages. He smiled, pulling me into his arms. Are you jealous? I glared at him, feigning annoyance. Inwardly, I breathed a sigh of relief, having just avoided another dangerous situation. At 25, I married Evelyn Qin. Our wedding became the talk of the town for days. After all, it was a romance that had once trending on social media. Some called it romantic, others called it twisted. But what did it matter? Evelyn Qin said, "Don't pay attention to what others say. Our life is ours to live however we choose." I completely agreed. After all, I had married the man I loved most in the world. What else was there to complain about? A year later, reflecting on it, I felt it was a bit rushed. Lately, I'd been thinking I should have signed a prenuptial agreement with Evelyn Qin to protect my interests before getting married. What if Ethan and I divorced later? I'd be left with nothing. I surely wouldn't be able to survive. Claire Jiang gave me a sidelong glance, then looked behind me, raising an eyebrow as she asked, "Are you thinking of a divorce?" I replied, "It's not that I want a divorce, I just feel that Evelyn Qin is too cunning and I'm afraid I'm no match for him." "So my wife always thinks this way, huh?" Evelyn Qin's voice was cold. I jumped in surprise, quickly turning around. Claire Jiang quickly vanished. Evelyn Qin chuckled softly, looking at me. "Worried like that, are you? Or should I suggest a plan?" I hesitated, a premonition telling me this wouldn't be a good plan, but I couldn't help but be curious. "What plan?" "Well, you already have a child. The baby will make you more important.